everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be doing my November wrap-up. In November, I managed to read 11 books for a total of 4,498 pages, and I had an average rating of 3.27, which is kind of low, but you'll see why when I talk about these books. As a little update to me reading down my TBR, if you're new here, I'm trying to read down all of my owned TBR books, and I started off January 1st with 341 books on my TBR, but as of the end of November, I am down to 157, which is such amazing progress. As always, I will have links to all of the vlogs where I talk more in detail about these books down in the description and also in the cards above, but let's talk about the 11 books that I read this month. First up is ZomRomCom by Olivia Dade. This one I ended up giving 2 stars. It was a very big disappointment, but I sort of have a hit or miss relationship with Olivia Dade anyways. I either really love her books or really don't like them, and this just happened to be one that I really didn't like. This one I thought would be like the perfect spookier book. It is following our main character who teams up with her neighbor during the zombie apocalypse and ends up finding out that he is a vampire. And this one kind of flopped for me just because I really did not care anything at all about the relationship, and the plot itself I felt like went by way too quick. Everything was sort of very convenient, and you're sort of just dropped into this world already, which felt out of place in my opinion. The synopsis of this book makes it sound like the zombie apocalypse is about to happen or like has just happened, and that's why she's teaming up with her neighbor, but the zombie apocalypse has been going on for years as soon as we start this book, so it just wasn't for me. So 2 stars. I also gave 2 stars to Keeper. This is a middle grade book, and this one just had way too many perspectives and way too many jumps in time that I found this book really hard and confusing to read and keep track of. This one definitely has a very big emotional impact at the end, and I did enjoy that about this book, the whole meaning and point of it. However, this isn't one that I would necessarily recommend. We are following our main character, Keeper, who ends up getting into a lot of unfortunate events in one day, and she decides that she wants to go find her birth mother. She pretty much lives with her adoptive mother at this point, but her birth mother she believes is a mermaid, so Keeper ends up taking a boat out into the middle of the ocean in order to find her birth mother. And yeah, that's basically the plot of this book, but yeah, not my favorite. The next book that I read was Outclassed, How the Left Lost the Working Class and How to Win Them Back. I gave this one 3.5 stars. This is obviously a political nonfiction book. This is an old arc, so thank you to the publisher for sending this one to me. But I really like this book for what it was doing. It's a critique by someone who is a progressive, who is critiquing the left and how they speak down to people who don't have the same views as them, and how talking down to people who are on the right or are more conservative actually makes them very resentful to people on the left and doesn't really help the left get more support. And it looks at a lot of different data, and I really enjoyed this book. I learned a lot. I think it is very important and impactful. However, I do think this author does get a bit long-winded in some points. It was a really good one. Not my favorite political nonfiction of all time, but still a really good one. And if you're interested in the subject, I would highly recommend picking it up and giving it a try. I also read Elite Capture, which is another political nonfiction book. This one I gave 3 stars. This one was good for what it was. It is a very short novella. I believe it's only 150 pages. So this one, while I enjoyed the content that was in this book, I just wish it was a little longer and gave more facts and examples. But again, it was a really good one. I also read The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. This one I gave 3 stars. It is one I read for school, and this one is a very interesting book in what it was doing. It is basically a case study look at this manager who comes in and tries to get all these workers to work as a team. And yeah, as far as books go that I've had to read for school, this one was the more interesting one that I've had to analyze, in that we're looking specifically at this one company who is very dysfunctional. None of the employees get along with each other. It's a little toxic, a little hostile, and yeah, if you're looking to read a book about teamwork, then I would recommend this one, but yeah, this is just one I read for school. The next book that I read was People Watching, and this one I gave 5 stars to. This is the only book this month that I gave 5 stars to, and it was so amazing. This one is by an author who I have read from before and have loved her works. Yeah, this might be my new all-time favorite romance. This one both made me laugh and made me cry. In the vlog where I read this one, I talked about how I absolutely bawled my eyes out after reading a very specific scene in this book, but I love this book so much. So if you want a book recommendation, this is my pick. But we are following our 2 main characters, Prue and Milo, and Prue lives in the small town. She is helping her dad run this store and also take care of their mom. Their mom does have early onset Alzheimer's, and Milo is coming to visit this town because his brother is actually opening a brewery. And so he's just visiting. He's this sort of very wild spirit. He's always traveling, always going to new places. And these 2 characters end up meeting and having this sort of friendship, and their friendship ends up leading them to have this sort of sex lesson because Prue has been stuck in this small town, obviously helping her mom and her dad. She doesn't have much of a life, and Milo obviously has been everywhere, done everything, and so she recruits him to help her learn all these things that she has been missing out on. And Milo also has a bit of a tragic backstory that I won't spoil. There are trigger warnings at the beginning of this book though, so definitely look at those before reading it because there's a lot of stuff going on in this one. But obviously our 2 characters do end up falling in love with each other, and it is just so cute and just so soft and understanding because both these characters are obviously going through a lot, and it was just such a beautiful book. I absolutely love this one so much. The next book that I read was Fevered Star, which I gave 4 stars. This is book number 2 in the series. Book number 1 is Black Sun. Black Sun I actually gave 5 stars to. It is one of the best fantasy books that I have read this year, and so I was really excited to dive into book 2. Obviously, it has a little bit of that middle book syndrome, but it is still such a solid book, and I just love the series so much. There's not much I can say about this one since it is the second in the series, but I would highly recommend it if you're looking for a new fantasy series to try out. The series is complete, so you won't have to wait on any more books in the series, but yeah. I loved this one. Then I ended up reading Alchemised, which I gave 2 stars. I know this one has so much hype around it, but it just really did not work for me. This book is extremely long at over 1,000 pages, and it is broken up into 3 parts. And I feel like these 3 parts are basically 3 books in one series. I found the story very long and boring, and it is very much a character-driven story. There's not necessarily much of a plot. The plot doesn't come in till like the last 10% of this book, and yeah, this one just wasn't for me. It didn't really work for me, but if you are looking for like a dark romantasy story that is very character-driven, give this one a try, but don't expect much to be happening plot-wise. The next book I read was The Defender, which I gave 4.5 stars. This one was so good. I love this book so much. If you are looking for a romance book to make you giggle and just like laugh along with these characters and their banter, this is the book for you. This is a sports romance between our main characters, Brooklyn and Vincent is the captain of the football team, and Brooklyn is the intern nutritionist at the football club that Vincent works at. However, her dad is also the coach of this team, so there is some forbidden romance aspects in that she is obviously Vincent's coach's daughter, so there is that to this book. But this book was so much fun. There is a little bit of a mystery aspect to this one in that Vincent does have a bit of a stalker, and they're trying to figure out that. And because he does have this stalker, that forces these 2 characters to end up living together, and it just creates so much fun little moments in this book. And yeah, I would highly recommend this one. Again, if you're looking for a really fun sports romance, definitely pick this one up. The next book that I read was Wild Eyes, which I gave 4 stars. This is book 2 in the Rose Hill series, and it is a romance between Skylar, who is this very big country singer, and Wes, who is a single dad and a horse trainer. This is another really adorable romance with such great banter in it. We do have a bit more of the emotional aspect in that Skylar is going through a lot of family stuff, figuring out certain things that her parents have done behind her back that have not been in her best interest, and so she escapes to this small town to sort of find herself and find out what she actually enjoys doing and if she still wants to be making music or not. And yeah, this one was just such an adorable book. I love it so much. And then the last book that I read this month was actually book 3 in the Rose Hill series, which is Wild Side. This one I ended up giving 3 stars to. This is probably my least favorite in the series, but overall it's still like a really solid book. In this one we are following Tabitha and Reese, and these two characters come together when Tabitha's sister Erica ends up passing away. So Reese used to be Erica's landlord, and in her will she ends up leaving Reese as the sole guardian to her son, and this makes Tabitha very upset. She's obviously trying to fight this, as she is the blood relative, being Erica's sister. She believes that she should have custody of this kid, and also all of their family lives in this small town. So Reese and Tabitha end up having this marriage of convenience to not make things difficult for this child, because Reese actually lives in Florida and Tabitha lives in Canada. So there's obviously a lot of distance between the two, and so they decide to pretty much co-parent, but they also have a lot of chemistry, and so this sort of marriage of convenience turns out to be one a little more real. This one I will say was not as cute and giggly as the other books in the series. This one is a little more hard-hitting and emotional, and I do appreciate that aspect of this book. However, I didn't necessarily feel the chemistry between our two main characters. I was sort of there for the rest of the plot of this book, not necessarily their romance. They did have some cute moments together, but overall I just didn't necessarily feel it as much as I would want to in a romance book. So yeah, this one I decided to give 3 stars to. But those are all 11 books that I managed to read in November. Thank you guys so much for making it this far in the video. Definitely let me know in the comments what books you have read in November. And if you don't want to do that, leave me the falling leaves emoji for people watching and like all the fall vibes. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!